Oh my.
Have you been fucked in the last 3 weeks?
No. Whoa! I'm actually, get this off me now. I'm done. No, I'm actually done. I haven't had sex with anyone. I'm literally celibate.
My life.
I fucking hate this thing. Get it off me now.
Are you using me?
No. What? Oh, this whole thing is a lie, because I'm telling the truth.
I knew that.
That's cap. I accuse you of capping.
We've all seen this before, haven't we? She got caught. What does she do? Plan B. Fake cry. I didn't even see one tear.
That among the general population, support for gay marriage has been starting to decline in the last year. Why is that? It's because the arguments that actually brought about liberal rights for all minorities in the last few decades have started to get turned on their head and turned against people. What is the source of that? It is the gender ideology movement. What is the tripwire for the general public? It is children. It is people learning that their children are being taught nonsensical things. It is being seen by the wider public, most of whom are heterosexual and don't need to identify as cis or anything else. It is being seen from that vantage point as the LGBTQIA+ movement losing control of itself. And so a backlash is starting. And the backlash is coming because people are lying to children and are using children for medical experiments. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing that should cause levity in that. It should be treated by adults seriously.
Okay, no, Ava.
So, Douglas, it's really important, actually, all of that point that you've just brought up. It's very on brand for you because, you know, you like to stoke fear. You've actually made a career out of it. I'll take you back to your book, The Strange Death of Europe, and you made a big fright. You know, you frightened the entire public about your thoughts on Europe, and we ended up in Brexit. You weren't the sole contributor to that, but you were a big voice.
Can we stick on to the
Ava, I will. And then, you know, now we're talking about LGBTQ,
if I may say so,
and you're
very
creating...
quickly,
Hang on, you spoke.
So far, he's made some good points, and she hasn't even responded to any of his points. She has no argument. All she's done since she's been talking is basically personally attack him and try to insult him because she doesn't have an argument.
Now, back on the trans issue, when you're talking about LGBTQ, what you've just done there is basically say that the whole of America, who have historically had a problem with gay marriage, are now turning on it because a couple of children in a classroom in Sussex want to be a cat. If you can't see the ridiculousness in that argument, I can't help you.
You see how off the mark she is with what she thinks. She tried saying that people are turning against this community because we have a problem if a kid wants to identify as a cat, when the truth is we've seen what's happening in the schools. We've got all these brainwashed, mentally ill teachers and all these weird parents who are brainwashing kids, telling them they can be whatever gender they want, and we've seen kids gone into transitional surgery when we know for a fact they can't make rational decisions. That's the problem we have. You see how she tries to downplay it, and you know what's funny? She believes in multiple genders, and she also believes that a man can become a woman and vice versa. But she's also a feminist. So how can you be a feminist and claim you're fighting for women's rights, but you have no problem with a man going into women's sports and completely dominating it? And also, you can't even define what a woman is. So how can you say you're fighting for women's rights when you don't even know what a woman is? It's so ridiculous.
Very quickly, I don't know, Ava, anything about your career. I don't know if you have one. But you did try to imply that you knew something about mine, and you just showed you know nothing about it, because actually my 2017 bestseller, The Strange Death of Europe, was not about the EU. So you should learn at some point to read more than the title of the book before commenting upon it.
It was about migration.
Let me very quickly...
And how rude are you? How rude are you?
Very quickly...
You've built a career out of fear-mongering, and you're now importing those evangelical American ideas onto UK television.
You haven't even built a career, have you?
And I want to be the first trans woman to have an abortion. The first trans woman to have a successful uterus transplant, ovaries and eggs included. I will have as much sex as it takes with as many trans women as it takes, and let the transphobes and homophobes scratch their heads wondering what to make of it.
A biological male wants uterus implant so he can have unprotected sex in order to have an abortion. What kind of freak show are we watching? Are we just Frankensteining ourselves? Are we doing experiments on ourselves now? And is this even legal? This guy should be arrested.
I mean, 100%, Jesse. It's unbelievably sick. I mean, this is a man who's already living under the delusion that he's a woman. He has perhaps a sexual fetish. He wants to take another healthy woman's organs to put them in himself. And then he wants to take the next step and try to conceive, to then kill, to murder a human being, a baby.
Wow. Yeah, he seems mentally stable. What is going on? These people seem to be getting worse and worse. He needs to be in a mental asylum.
Okay, I don't think the trans movement is about safeguarding people's ability to express their gender. I think it was brought forth as a social issue for politicians to get behind, and now it's used as a wedge issue to weed out ideologically non-compliant people. To that end, I think it deliberately empowers the most emotional and dogmatic people, like those going after J.K. Rowling and Dave Chappelle. I mean, we all know there's a distinction to be had, but many of us pretend like there's not because we've been told that there's not, and that the right thing to say is that there's no distinction. It reminds me of Orwell's 1984, where he's being tortured and repeatedly asked how many fingers are being held up, and ultimately the right answer is whatever the state says there is. Many accept these terms because it's the path of least resistance set forth by the people who own and run the megaphones, who dictate what does and does not make a good person, as well as a loyal army of shock troops who will effectively come after you and your reputation both off and on Twitter if you step out of line. The solution always seems to be to control language and grant the ruling.
Jordan Peterson exposes the dangers of not having children.
I'm 38. I feel like I've got through my early 30s without, almost luckily, when I look at what my friends have to deal with their children, I almost feel a little bit blessed. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that it starts to get pretty lonesome in life after 45 if you don't have a family. You have a very high quality career too. That's something that marks you out from, let's say, more typical people, and perhaps that's worth more of a sacrifice. But, you know, you're going to live till you're 90 in all likelihood, and it's not easy to consider your life across its entire span, and there's something to be said for developing a very close-knit, intimate community around you if you can manage it. You have children and then you have grandchildren, and to me, what I've experienced in my life, although I've had a very productive career, it's definitely been the case for me that my family has been more and more important to me as I've got older, and I don't think that that's an uncommon experience.
You're delusional. I'm not saying that to insult you, but you're delusional.
Okay, I don't care.
You're looking for a less than 1% man. And you, yes, you are.
She's a 1% female.
No, she's not. You're not.
You don't know me. You don't know what I put on the table in relationships. The most important part.
You're a single mother. You are not.
So?
You are not. I'm not saying this to be mean, but you are not in the.
You're mean.
Let me finish.
Okay.
You are not in the 1% of desirable partners out there. You're just not.
This is so crazy that these people have no self-awareness whatsoever. You just got to be real with yourself sometimes and just accept that you are what you are. And if you're a single mum with basically nothing to offer, no billionaire is going to want to be with you, and that's just the truth.